Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. I am your host, Blaine Bartlett. Folks, today I have got a real treat, and I mean that both in terms of you receiving this, but also me doing this. One of my best friends on the planet has graciously consented to sit for an interview. I love this woman, and I can't say enough about her. Liz Edlich is the co-founder of Radical Skincare. And as a woman entrepreneur, she has just done some amazing things. And I'm going to just touch on something real briefly here. When she and her sister, Rachel, introduced Radical, I think the first foray was into Barneys in New York. And then within 3 years, you were in 800 stores in 15 countries in less than 3 years. I mean, that trajectory was just crazy. And it's more than a skincare product company. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to have her on the Soul of Business podcast. They've got a lifestyle component to what they're doing here that I think is profound from an entrepreneurial perspective. So Liz, I want to just welcome you to the show and thank you again for being willing to sit with me for a half an hour.
Are you kidding? Thank you, Blaine. You know, I can barely get it in a half an hour with you because we have so much to talk about and you're so brilliant. And I appreciate you bringing this type of content to the world and actually injecting more soul into the businesses out there, because it is the lifeblood of who and what we are and where we spend so much of our time in our lives.
Well, just speaking of the soul of business here, the question I will typically lead with in this is when you hear the term the soul of business, because for a lot of folks, it's almost an oxymoron. When you hear the term the soul of business, what does that bring up for you?
I think a business is a reflection of the individuals that are in community within that business. And it's the collective heartbeat of all of those individuals, their dreams, their aspirations, their communication. And the soul of business to me means getting to that authentic self of the business, being able to express itself, touch others so that it lives on far longer than just a business. So having an imprint on people's lives where it touches and takes them into the directions of their dreams.
That collective heartbeat, you're the first person that has actually said that. And this is, I think, the 83rd or 80, well, that's the 80 something interview I've done. I'm interested, obviously, Radical Skincare, you've got some incredible products in the healthcare or in the skincare space here. But the company is more than a skincare product company. And I mentioned this right on the intro here. And I want you to be able to talk about both the product itself, the efficacy of the product, but also the greater purpose of the heartbeat of the company, and how it actually collectively beats with your customers. So, first of all, I think I'll just start with how did you get into this?
Oh yeah, that. Well, as most entrepreneurs, I would hold on, Blaine. We're going to have to do this.
So how did you get into this business?
Well, Blaine, as many entrepreneurs, we find ourselves going through adversity, and adversity can be the mother of invention to create something that actually solves not just your problem, but a lot of other people's problems or challenges. And when you can define and refine that and create something that makes that kind of a difference, it can be an absolute game changer. So for us, we had been in the business for about 20 years or so, my sister and I. We were making nutraceuticals, diet products. We did infomercials. We worked with celebrities extending their brand, etc. And then it became really personal. Rachel developed chronic rosacea. So what if Your listeners don't know what that is. It's when your face gets really red, your cheeks, your forehead, your chin, lots of bumps. And she was on 2 oral and 3 topical antibiotics. She'd gone to all the dermatologists, doctors, and they said, it's chronic. You're always going to be on this medication. The medication made it even more painful. And so we were like, that's what radical means to us, right? Do not accept the unacceptable. Don't take no for an answer. Color outside the lines, stretch and go, go big. And for me, it was just gravity, understanding that it wasn't just going to wait and step aside for me, that it actually was going to play a part and we were going to dance. So if I was going to dance with gravity being real and aging, then I was going to make it my best shot to waltz my way through that. And then I had adult acne. So there was this whole perfect storm that occurred that caused us to harness the brilliance of our dad. Our dad was a famous reconstructive burn specialist and surgeon. He created steri strips, which are those little strips that close a wound as opposed to using sutures. And he had the burn unit. So we were not new to the science of skin and rejuvenation. So we told our dad, let's get back to the lab and let's solve our skin issues. And we also brought in some of the best scientists in the world, and we never intended to sell it. It truly was something just to figure out how we could solve our own issues. And then we created it. I used it for myself. Rachel's face cleared up in 2 weeks, excuse me. Mine, the adult acne was totally gone. People started asking me what I used on my skin. It was really kind of odd. And then our mother loved it. Our friends loved it. We just wrote on little plastic bottles. We just would scoop it out of these vats that were delivered to the office. And that was going to be that. But radical was coursing through our blood and through our veins. And what radical meant to us is going above and beyond because we can, to make a radical difference in the world. And our father, not only was he this world-renowned surgeon, but he developed multiple sclerosis through half of his career. So he was immobile from the neck down in a wheelchair. But still in that adversity, he wrote over 3,000 peer-reviewed journal articles. I mean, can you imagine that? Dictating 3,000 peer-reviewed journal articles, because he was still committed. He had a purpose bigger than himself to change the landscape of medicine, even from a wheelchair. So we said, how can we let something that's healed her skin, changed mine? Our friends were loving it, calling us, oh, can I have more of that stuff you gave me at lunch? We said, we really have something here. What good is an asset sitting on our bathroom counter if we don't share it with others in the world and be about making the difference? So transformation is the cornerstone of our company, transforming someone's skin, transforming their life. And that's through skincare and self-care rituals. So that's what we created. So Radical was born out of our own quest to solve our issues, and then wanting to deliver life-changing solutions and skin-changing solutions to others in the world. So,
I mean, I love that story. I've heard the story before, and every time you tell it, I just get chills. I mean, there's just something so inspirational about it for me. And partly it's because, for me, the purpose of business is to uplift the experience of being alive on this planet. And if you're doing that with your product or service, you're going to have people just beating down your door to have that experience. I'm intrigued not so much with the efficacy of the product, because it's without peer. It truly is. I mean, my wife Cynthia uses it, and I've known you a long time. Your skin and Rachel also. I mean, just it's amazing. Yeah, the efficacy of this product.
Come on, cop to it. It's a unisex product.
I
You're always begging.
I use it for sun blocking and that kind of thing when I'm out fishing. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's great. It really is. But I mentioned this at the outset here. It's a lifestyle company. Mm-hmm. It's not a cosmetic company. It's not a skincare company. It's a lifestyle company. And you touched on that when you talked about what we do is transformation. Can you talk a little bit about just how that actually informs decisions that you make as a company, how that actually informs how you go to market.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first, Blaine, I wanted to bring it back to what you said about feeling alive, right? So the act of someone being alive, and a business, the soul of business is to enliven the soul, is to make sure you've got that heartbeat beating so that it can share and be there for others. And our pivot point and our decision making was altered by us traveling around the world, as you mentioned earlier, to the 17 countries around the world, where we opened 900 stores, and we did it ourselves. So we were speaking to thousands of people on the road over 3 years. And what we found is, yes, they loved our skincare. Like you said, yes, it does the job. It's amazing. It's unlike anything else. But what we were really struck by is the fact that it matters, like how you're feeling on the inside is felt by the world. And that these folks that we were speaking to, it's like their dreams had been squashed. And I heard you talking about that in one of your podcasts, is that their dreams had been squashed. Their hope wasn't reigning supreme. They had forgotten the vision of what it is they really wanted that lit them up. Mm-hmm. And then we said, geez, we haven't done anything more than transform their skin. That's only half the job. Our commitment, their purpose is our promise. Our commitment is to deliver them life-changing opportunities that they can use Radical as not just a vehicle, but use our Radical rituals and incorporate what we had been given, how we had been coached in their own lives to transform their life and follow their dreams. So that was the point where we decided, okay, our job is much bigger. If we want to make a radical difference in the world, we need to get radical in our approach. And to that end, we said, we've got to write our book. We've got to interview the best of the best out there and incorporate their stories, their lesson, their coaching, and all of the tips and tools they gave us to take us on our journey of success. And that's what we did in our Get Radical book, Secrets to Creating Life You Love.
You know, I was interviewing a fellow the other day, Gary Ridge, who's the CEO. He's becoming a fast friend of mine. Gary Ridge, the CEO of WD-40.
Oh, yes.
Spray it.
Oh, yes.
Everybody's got WD-40.
It's like every company needs a WD-40. We need to
absolutely do.
From top to bottom.
Yeah, he mentioned something in his interview, and I love this. It was a quote from Aristotle. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Mm. And he talked about perfection, not in the sense of being perfect, but perfection in the sense of moving towards elegance, moving towards excellence. Right. And when you were talking just a minute ago about, okay, if we're going to be radical, let's be radical. It's not just about crossing the marking the box off here in terms of our marketing thing. We have a much bigger purpose, and this is, I think, where we get connected to the soul of business. Mm-hmm. People don't get jazzed about selling a product. They get jazzed about making a difference. They do, and having a purpose bigger than themselves. Yep. And being part of a community that matters. So, for us, we say radical is a movement that matters, because it's all about, the conversations with our skincare or talking to someone about skincare. Skincare is just a metaphor for your life. Yeah. So, for example, we have our exfoliating pads, right? So what is that doing? That's removing dead, dull skin that no longer serves you, that dulls your shine, your glow. And so we correspond that to a radical ritual. While you're using those pads at night, remove the fear, the doubt, the worry, remove that negative self-talk, and any kind of dynamic or people that are in your life taking up the real estate of your mind, or thoughts taking up the real estate of your mind that don't serve you in the direction that you're going. It's similar with our eye cream. Using the eye cream. Yes, it's for puffiness, dark circles, and wrinkles. While you're using it, what is it? It's triggering, visualizing, seeing what you want, see it like a movie in your mind, and taking a moment to anchor that in feeling what that feels like. What is that emotion you feel
when you have accomplished what you're set out to accomplish. So part of the community, when someone has radical access to the community and gets involved, is they have access to mentors and other people that if at that moment they're not believing in themselves or not believing in where they're going, they're able to borrow everyone else's belief in them, other people's coaching and the opportunities that are there to really take them where they want to go, right? Because everyone's dream is different. Everyone's want is different. But at the core of it, it's knowing what you want, re-embracing what you want, and allowing it not to be set forth in circumstances that you see today, because the facts don't matter. They always change. Not allowing it to be dictated by your past or the amount of money you have in the bank. What lights you up?
Yeah.
And then surrounding yourself with people that resonate with you. You know, the law of vibration comes before the law of attraction, right? That's why, you know, infusing your life with gratitude increases the amount of appreciation, energy, and then it draws that towards you. So incorporating some of these things that when you use skincare, you use it in the morning, at night. If you talk to entrepreneurs and some of the most successful people in the world, it's their morning ritual that sets their day, and at night, what they do and how they close out the day. So if we can create a construct to deliver these tools and opportunities so people can apply it wherever it most serves them, then that is a gift that we're giving that creates our purpose.
Yeah, I love how you position the skin as a metaphor, or the body as a metaphor. And, you know, everybody's got a body, and we don't go anywhere without our body. So, yeah, using it as a useful metaphor. And I was struck by, you know, again, something that you said earlier. I keep linking back into, you know, these previous, you know, little points. Our inside, how we feel inside, is felt by the world. And so, if I'm taking my body, and the skin is the largest organ in the body. Yeah, it absolutely is the largest organ in the body. So if I'm deliberately, intentionally, and mindfully taking care of it using, like you were talking, memes. Yeah, I'm wiping away the dead cells on the dermis, and it's analogous to wiping away things that I don't want in my life. I mean, that is such a beautiful way of positioning not only the product, but a way of living in life.
Right.
Yeah, to be able to deliberately and consciously and have a tool, and everybody's got a body, so we've all got the tool to be able to do that well. And what you're doing is facilitating that process, and I think a very unique way, unique way.
I think you're right, Blaine, that we all are multitasking, you know, more than ever. And so to the extent we can create our environment to support us in the areas that we know and have been proven to take people where they want to go, it's really important. So this is the way that we can at least help to anchor that morning and night, and also create a plug and play platform, which came about actually again with a sense of adversity when the pandemic hit, and everybody started to reevaluate who they are, what they want to do. They find themselves at home, somewhat isolated, maybe out of a job, or reassessing, do they even like their job? Do they even want to go back into the environment that they were living in before? So it was this whole transformation. And we were saying, you know, how do we get radical in our approach in this new world? Yeah. Well, what if we were to buy our products off the shelves of retailers, where we're sharing it with a Saks Fifth Avenue or Sephora or Barneys New York or Harrods of London or whatever it is, take that product and put it in the hearts and homes of other entrepreneurs that desire financial freedom, and it allows them to work when they want, how they want, and be tapped in and turned on by a community that's a radical movement that matters. So taking them to the next level with what we've already created, another asset to share.
We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, I want to do a deeper dive into that very point. You know, the community that you're building, because it's not the typical Avon and I'll use
No.
Avon. It's just got a funny
No.
story here. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about in any way, shape, or form. So, folks, we'll be right back talking with Liz Edlich, co-founder of Radical Skincare. I want to thank you for listening. I want to also invite you right now to go to blainebartlett.com. And on that site, which is my personal website, you'll see services up on the top menu. I'd like you to click on Leadership Mastermind. Now, why I want you to do that is we have structured a mastermind program that is very unusual and it is very powerful. And by going onto that site and clicking that link, you'll be taken to a landing page that is an invitation to join this mastermind. It's a 52-week long exploration of what it takes to be a highly effective leader in today's fast-changing environment. You won't regret it. And if you've been liking what you've been listening to on these Soul of Business podcasts, how does one become a leader that can keep connection to the soul of business? That's what we look at. That's what we're about in this mastermind program. So again, go to blainebartlett.com and click on the services link, and there you'll find the link to the Leadership Mastermind program. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for listening to this little commercial, and now back to our show. Welcome back. I want to pick up where we left off with Liz Edlich. Liz, you were talking about taking product off the shelf, and I love the stores, Barneys in New York, Harrods, Saks. I mean, you're in some incredible venues. There's no question about that. But you were referencing about taking it off of the shelf and putting it into the hearts of the people that you're really wanting to touch. And this kind of goes back to the collective heartbeat that you mentioned around how you think of the soul of business. You are doing something that is really, I think, unique in terms of how you're building this community, this radical community. Can you talk a little bit about how that is actually playing out and who you're actually getting engaged with it and how it works?
Well, it's really I've never been involved in a business like that. And so just for your listeners, one thing I think is so important is you don't necessarily need to know how to do something. You don't need to know how. Entrepreneurs get in there and figure it out. Get off the bleachers, get onto the field of life and just start to play. Play like your life depends on it and really go after what it is you want. And you don't need to know how. I didn't know how to get into prestige retail. I figured it out. I surrounded myself with other people that did. I became a stockbroker, never having a finance class, raised $1 billion, had no idea how, but my purpose and passion drove me to that excellence. And I surrounded myself and referred the monies out to other money managers and then eventually became a partner. Again, had no idea how. So I had no idea how to share this product in this new world of the internet, Zoom, you name it, with people so that they could take the millions of dollars that we've spent, the before and afters, the clinical studies, the active ingredients, all of the press, everything that we have created, they could take that and use it as a vehicle, as a platform to plug and play. And they don't have to have the money to start a business. They don't have to have all the bells and whistles. We've created it. We've got the entire back office. We can actually give them a turnkey business. And all they have to do is decide and say the radical yes. Yes, I want to do this. And it's been fascinating because I've had the privilege of being in the homes and understanding where their heartbeat is. And everything from a mother with 3 kids under the age of 3 who was saying, who am I anymore? I'm not having conversations that matter. I'm not feeling purpose driven. I'm here with my kids and I need to support them. To a woman who might be 65 or 70 saying, I want to have the joy and the ability to give more in this stage of my life. I want to put my grandkids through college. I want to have the ability to buy a vacation house or travel. So the continuum is the 20s all the way to any chapter of life because our needs and our passions change, our purpose changes, but it all centers around the ability to transform not just skin, but lives, and giving people in the process the tools to apply it to their everyday life so they can get where they want to go, their purpose being our promise.
Their purpose being our promise. Okay. If you had a concise statement of the purpose of Radical, what would it be?
Making a radical difference.
It is making
making a radical difference, not in your just skin, but in your life.
Yeah. Now, I want you, folks listening here, you notice there was nothing in there about selling a product.
No.
Nothing in. People don't get excited about selling products typically.
No, they don't.
We get excited, we get inspired by making a difference in our lives. And one of the things that I think is interesting, Dan Pink cites study after study after study around the distinction between external and internal motivation, what he calls intrinsic motivation. And one of the hallmarks of intrinsic motivation, there's three components to it. One is purpose. A purpose that inspires. Second is autonomy. And the third is a drive towards mastery. How do those three come into play with your community structure? Purpose, autonomy, and
Well, certainly there's a purpose, because whatever their dreams are, we're going to help empower and inspire them to actually go after their dream and frankly know what their dream is, right? So re-embrace and relearn and live what their dream is. And as we change and grow, our dreams, our purpose, and our goals and our what it is that we really want changes, right? As we accomplish, even if you've had a failure, right? It's okay, because now we are failing forward, having new skill sets and opportunities to take along the way. So purpose is at the center, because everyone's purpose is possible when they implement tools and things that can help get them, take them on their journey. But there are selective steps, like there's a technology to creating the strongest skincare for sensitive skin. There's a technology to creating a life you love. So you really do need to incorporate some of the principles that are the law into your life. So that feeds into an ability for people to, I've said on a call the other day, imagine when you had the conversation with someone and you listened to what their goal was, and you then held their goal in your mind and supported them along the way. And when they accomplish it, because you reached out, touched them, said, hey, I'm involved in something I really love with a group of people I love, talking about and sharing a product I love with people I love. You may really like to be a part of this. When they call you and say, you're never going to believe what happened. Yeah. I'm happier. I got the cabin that I actually had been wanting all these years. I took my kids on this trip, whatever it was. Imagine how that feels when you know that you were at the core center of a gift that transformed their life. And as it relates to autonomy, I think that's so interesting, because that's the spirit of an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And it's being able to do it your way with people you resonate with, walking your own road and not having your road defined by another. And I think that really gets back to creating the feeling of being alive, like you were talking about earlier.
Yep.
So I think the autonomy is fascinating, because it really is people being able to be autonomous and profitable, create financial freedom, doing it their way, and being a part of a collective community that uplifts and inspires. Therefore, there's a purpose, and that becomes the capitalistic aspect of it, right? That is the soul of the business. They are the heartbeat. Even though they are on their autonomous journey, they're doing it collectively, and their purpose drives them.
That's the interesting paradox on that, because, and this is where, for me, compassionate capitalism comes in, because there's connection. I'm acting autonomously, much the same as in an English garden, as an example. Each of the plants is autonomous, in terms of their growing season and what it is that they're bringing to the garden, but they're also functioning collectively.
That's right.
They're sharing nutrients without concern about what am I getting in return. And I mean, that the assumption is that will just get handled. That will just get handled. So they're acting, part of autonomy is I begin to act as a center of distribution, as opposed to a center of accumulation. And there's a big distinction on that. The piece about mastery, so we've got purpose, we've got autonomy, and then the third component of intrinsic motivation is this element of mastery. How do you work with people so that they have the opportunity to master what they're striving for, or how they're being?
Right. Well, that's one of the reasons that we created this platform, and we've gone so deep in the area of being there for them, not just to say, okay, here's the ingredients, here's videos on each product, here's how it works, the technology. This is the ability to create financial freedom. We have all the plug and play videos, so no one has to become an expert, right, in any of those areas. But what we realize, if you look at the percentage of people in the world that really are at the top of the game, it's rarefied air. Mm-hmm. So when you say, what is the difference between the 1, 2, or 3, or 5% and the 95%? It is mastery. Yeah. And unless they are able to overcome whatever patterns or belief systems, and incorporate new tools to help transform who they are, then they'll continue to get the same results, which may not be where they are. So wherever you are, and if you're doing a bit of self-evaluative introspection and saying, where am I? And do I want to be here in 5 years, the same place? Mm-hmm. Or do I want to transform? Do I want, because if not now, when? Yeah. Time is so precious. It is so scarce. And you and I, we talk like, how many more summers do we have? When you start to measure time in the finite factor that it is, mm-hmm. You can't buy it. You can't make more of it. We all have the same amount. So how are you going to spend yours? And who are you going to spend it with? It really is very sobering, because if you look at, maybe it's your parent or your brother or a best friend, and you say, how many more Christmas or holidays will I spend with that person? Well, I tend to only see him once a year. We have our big Christmas or our Thanksgiving get together or whatever it is. Well, if you start to say, maybe there's another 15, 20 years of health there, does that mean there's only 15 more Thanksgivings that I'm going to spend, 15 more times on the planet? I am going to spend time with this person. Yes. So it really makes you focus, if not now, when, and if not me, then who, right?
There's an interesting distinction for me between the notion of spending and investing. And at this point in my life, I'm making decisions organized around, where am I investing my time?
Right.
And investment has a return on it. Yeah, spending doesn't. Spending, I mean, it's just kind of, it's sands of time slipping through my fingers. But investment, there's a return. There's an implied return on that. So, when I spend time with you, when Cynthia and I spend time with you, that's an investment, because I know that it is. I mean, it truly is. Yeah, we are building something that for me is valuable. And this notion of making decisions around how I approach living. Do I approach it with the mindset of an amateur, which is just, I'll do just enough to get by, and I'll look up in about 5 years and I'm pretty much in the same place I was, but at least I'm getting by? Or do I approach it from the mindset of a professional? And I use professional not in the sense of paid work or anything like that, but a true professional. And an Olympic athlete is a great example of this. Mm-hmm. They will do whatever it takes to excel. Now, do they get paid for it? Not in monetary, not from an Olympic athlete's perspective. They don't get paid. They may get endorsements, but it's about that compulsion to excel at something that I find important. that I find valuable. And that is a mindset shift for most people as they're going through life. And this is, I think, a radical approach. And this is one of the things that I was really struck by with the community that you're building, is you're setting people up to actually approach living with the mindset of a professional. And they're using their business with you as the mechanism by which that is occurring.
And they're using the mentorship
Mm-hmm.
of people such as yourself and others that we invite into the community to help coach them along the way and give them those tools, because that is the distinction, right? We weren't taught this in school. We've been blessed enough to surround ourselves with people that focus on this all day long. Like, that is our mind food, right?
Yep.
And again, I really implore everyone, look at where you're spending your time. Are you flipping through Instagram for hours on end? How much time are you actually spending investing in yourself? So congratulations to whomever is listening to this podcast right now, because this is an investment in you. You are searching and driving forward to have more tools, to have more in your toolbox to take you forward and get you where you want to go. And we were talking about Olympic athletes, and I was speaking to my trainer. And again, these tools are a muscle, right?
Yeah.
It's a muscle.
They are.
You
Absolutely.
have to just, every day I'm listening to many a podcast a year, like well over probably 1,000. And why? Because I want to be better. I want to learn more. I want to be more service. And I was talking to my trainer, Larry, and he was talking about Kobe Bryant. And Kobe was interviewed, and you're thinking, okay, you hire like one of the best as far as trainers. Is he looking to be, 10% better, 20% better? He says, I'm only looking for 0.5% degree better, because that 0.5%, when you're the best, still is going to keep you at the top of the game and even higher. And so I think we can always become better at what we're doing. And we talk about the radical yes. So if you think about saying yes, and how when you would typically say no, start to push yourself to get radical, change your approach, say yes when you would say no. Because if you're a rocket ship and you're standing straight, and if every yes is 1 degree change, so that means every time you say yes is taking you in a different direction. So say yes to what serves you. And another thing that's so important, Blaine, because you're talking about investing in yourself. And that could be in what you eat, going to the gym, and being in a relationship or not in a relationship, leaving a company, staying with a company, starting your own business, having children, not making decisions. And people elude themselves by saying, oh, well, I'm just not ready to make a decision yet, whether I'm going to leave this relationship, or I'm going to leave my job, or I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to, go into being, not eating junk food or wheat or whatever it is that their thing is for the moment. Well, in fact, they've made a decision. Be clear, not making a decision is a decision. The decision is, I am choosing today to stay in my relationship, my job, eat what I'm eating, what have you, until you choose different. So it's putting yourself in the power position to know that your choice is driving your results. And you are the only person on the planet that can choose differently. And the good news is, it really doesn't matter how you just chose differently yesterday, because you have right now, a new moment to choose differently, and get radical in your approach, right? Go for radical passion, purpose, health, wealth, desire, giving. Giving transforms, right? If you're in a position, Cynthia Kersey, your wife, the Unstoppable Foundation, she's totally inspired me and our organization, because when she was feeling down, they come right back to, you're focusing on yourself too much. Start to look out there and say, how can I make a difference for another? Because remember, you're going to do you better than anyone else. And I know that I've had that, negative yabber sitting on my shoulder telling me all the reasons, well, oh, this podcast or this guy or this speaker is so good, and he's that good and she's that good. am I ever going to be able to share a message as powerfully as they did? But I'm going to just do me, because there is a way that I might be expressing it to someone that they can hear it differently through a conversation with you, that they couldn't hear it through someone else.
Yep.
So,
and that's an important, boy, I want to just land on that one. We are each uniquely different, just like everybody else. And that's, and there's a very interesting way to work with that, because I mean, I write books. I've written 5 books, and sometimes, I mean, early on, it was kind of like, well, somebody's already covered this territory.
exactly.
Nobody's covered it in the way that I've covered it.
That's right.
I get emails all the time about, from somebody going, I can't believe that I didn't know this. And something that I wrote and the way that I wrote it triggered something in that reader that they went, wow. And they'd probably read that same body of work, from other writers, but it never landed. So this idea of absolutely investing in myself so that I can bring myself, all of me, into the world is where aliveness lives. And this is one of the things I'm going to begin to close things down here a little bit. I hate this because, well, the good news is I get to see you very soon. So
That's right.
continue the conversation. But how are you leaving things better than you found it?
Because $1 billion company will just be a collection of us helping 1 million dreams come to fruition. So it's really like touching and transforming millions of people's lives. And it may just be in the product because it finally ended the search for something that they didn't think existed, or it could be an entire life transformation where they have incorporated new friends, new opportunities, new belief in themselves, a new way of being that's radical, that allows them to embrace everything that they wanted, their purpose, their passion. And that's our promise.
That's your promise. And I love it.
Promise.
We've been listening to Liz Edlich, co-founder of Radical Skincare. Liz, where can people find out more about the company, about you, that sort of thing? And you've got a book also. I want to be sure that we get the book in there, because there's
sure. So
amazing.
Sure. So it's Get Radical, creating secrets to creating a life you love. So that's the book. You can buy it on our website at radicalskincare.com. You can reach us also at Instagram at Radical at Radical Skincare. And also, because you are so focused on the soul and the soul of business and the heartbeat, when people come to Radical Skincare, and they will be able to, with the code SOUL10, be able to purchase any of our Radical Skincare products with a 10% discount. And as well, we'd love to share our Get Radical book electronically with them as a gift, because we know that your work is transforming so many lives, and we would like to be a part of that and contribute on that journey. So,
oh, thank you. That is unexpected. I didn't know you were going to do that. And guys, go ahead and definitely take advantage of that offer. This product is amazing. My wife uses it, and full disclosure, I do too. It's an amazing. It truly is an amazing collection of products. But more than the product, it's a whole lifestyle. We've been listening to Liz Edlich, like I mentioned. You've been listening to The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett, and I am Blaine Bartlett. I want to invite you also to go to my website, blainebartlett.com. You'll find all kinds of resources there, not the least of which is my Mastermind program. Feel free to kind of lift the hood up a little bit and explore some of the things that might be present in that. And if you're interested, love to have you join the Mastermind. It's all about transforming the way you approach your life.
I have one more thing to say on that.
Yes.
Blaine has been my coach for years. And he was so gracious to offer coaching me through a lot of adversity in my life. And it absolutely made the biggest difference and took me to income, belief in opportunity, taking huge risks that I thought were overwhelming to me at the time. But his coaching and mentorship was an absolute game changer for myself and for Rachel. And so I get emotional because who we've become is also in large part because of your mentorship, our friendship, and your commitment to my ever-changing growth and transformation. So thank you, Blaine. And everyone that's out there, honestly, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Invest in yourself and go to blainebartlett.com and start to get a radical taste of what it's like to be among some of the best of the best. And that would be Blaine. So thank you.
Thank you, my friend. I love you. Not just for that. I just love you. Okay. Until next time, folks, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.